going to look at the effects of smoking on mind, body, and soul. Let's have just a quick word of prayer. Most gracious, kind Heavenly Father, as I continue before your people, Lord, I just ask for thy presence. Give understanding, give them a clear mind. We know it's been a long day, and be with me as well. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're looking here at the effects of smoking on the mind, body, and the soul. It says here, a bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. Isaiah 42:3-4. We must understand that there's always a counterfeit. We must understand whatever God has, Satan has a counterfeit. Now God said he wants us to smoke too, but that means smoking in his glory. He wants us to be so on fire for him that people can see his glory in us. And sometimes you feel discouraged and things are not working right. He says, until he has set judgment in earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. God said, my law is going to come to pass. Whether people understand it, God will prevail, and he wants us to smoke for him. Now, how do you say? You said he's smoking? Meaning in his glory. Shine, light up for Christ. Now, I'm going to go back to this. This picture here says, Skoal, a pinch better, great price every day. Warning, this product can cause mouth cancer. I took a picture of that. And guess how much it said you can get cancer for? $3.29. Did you get it? $3.29. But it's interesting that it tells us, it warns us. God is warning us, but for some reason we won't listen to him. It says Leviticus 16:12-13, strange fire offered today. God has not changed. He's a particular and exact in his requirements, now as he was in the days of Moses. But in the sanctuaries of worship in our day, with the song of praise, the prayers and the teaching from the pulpit, there is not nearly strange fire, but positive defilement. Instead of truth being preached with holy zeal from God, is sometimes spoken under influence of what? Tobacco and brandy. You mean they're in church smoking tobacco and brandy in the church? Strange fire indeed. Bible truth, Bible holiness are presented to the people, and prayers are offered to God, mingled with the stench of what? Tobacco. Such incense is most acceptable to who? Satan. A terrible deception is this. What an offense in the sight of God. What insult to him who is holy, dwelling in light, unapproachable. If the faculties of the mind were in healthful vigor, professed Christians would discern the inconsistency of such worship. Like Nadab and Abihu, their sensibilities are so blunted that they make no difference between the sacred and common. We must understand that we are before a most holy God. And we just can't come in the sanctuary or do anything we please because God is here. And it says, holy and sacred things are brought down at a level with their tobacconized breaths, benumbed brains, their polluted souls defiled through indulgence of appetite and passion. Professed Christians eat and drink, smoke and chew tobacco, and become gluttons and drunkards to gratify appetite, and still talk of overcoming as Christ overcame. Do you hear that? So they say they talking overcoming, but God said, not here. Boys begin the use of tobacco at a very early age. The habit thus formed when body and mind are especially susceptible to its effects, undermines the physical strength, dwarfs the body, stupefies the mind, and corrupts the morals. But what can be done to teach children and youth the evils of a practice of which parents, teachers, and ministers set them the example? Little boys hardly emerged from babyhood may be seen smoking their cigarettes. If one speaks to them about, they say, my father uses tobacco, they point to the minister or to the Sunday school superintendent, or we could say Sabbath school superintendent, and says, such a man smokes, what harm for me to do as he does? Many workers in intemperance causes are addicted to the use of tobacco. What power can such persons have to stay the progress of intemperance? Now let's look at this. Play this for me, Stanton. I need the volume up so they can really hear this.
Good evening. The first thing most little kids grab in the morning are their toys or stuffed animals. But a terrifying number of children in some parts of the world, kids as young as 2 years old, grab something else, cigarettes.
They're not playing with them, they're lighting up. Some up to 40 cigarettes a day. Who's to blame? Dan Harris follows the trail of smoke.
This story begins with a thoroughly modern icon, the cherubic toddler now known all over the world as the smoking baby. 13 million people watched this YouTube clip of the 2-year-old puffing hungrily on cigarette after cigarette with his family looking on.
A 2-year-old smoking a cigarette.
You know what would get the kid to cut back on cigarettes for good? It's a lesser known treatment called don't give him any.
But while many people viewed this video as just another passing fascination in the age of YouTube, we heard that this child was actually the tip of the iceberg, just one part of a much larger story. So we traveled 10,000 miles to Indonesia to find this. Watch television in his 2-room house. This kid smokes like a pro. Pretty incredible. How many cigarettes does he smoke every day? Milana's mother says he smokes a pack a day. A pack a day? You know that cigarettes are deadly, right? She says she knows, but if Milana doesn't smoke, he gets weak and starts crying.
He's addicted to them.
As you watch this child smoke, and as you consider the mini explosion of smoking babies here in Indonesia, the natural question is, how and why is this happening? Well, to begin with, watch this. We went out onto the streets with a public health worker and did an experiment. What about this little girl? If we gave her money, you think it would work? This 8-year-old buys a pack of cigarettes, no questions asked. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Crazy, yes, but it is perfectly legal here for anybody of any age to buy cigarettes. They cost $1 a pack, and there's almost no tobacco regulation. It's as if Indonesia is in an insane time warp, like America in the 1950s, when cigarette ads were everywhere, even on the anchor desk on the network news.
Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
Back then, perhaps the most iconic face of big tobacco was the Marlboro Man. Philip Morris, maker of Marlboro, stopped using him in America more than a decade ago. But the Marlboro Man has been riding free here in Indonesia.
And I think the guy's so cute too.
You think the Marlboro Man is cute?
Oh yeah. Don't you think?
You're smoking Marlboro? Why do you like Marlboro?
Because it's the best.
It's the best?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you a cowboy?
I want to be a cowboy.
In 2005, Philip Morris International, which sells Marlboros around the world, bought Indonesia's 3rd largest tobacco company called Samporna, and very quickly turned it into #1, selling a mix of its best-known Western brands along with popular local ones. And right from the start, the company targeted young people. ABC News obtained internal documents that plot a strategy to market to young adults, making Samporna young, cool, and trendy, and the voice of a new generation of Indonesians. To that end, Philip Morris now does things here it could never do at home, sponsoring rock concerts and the Indonesian version of American Idol, running TV ads featuring attractive young people. And speaking of attractive, Philip Morris also employs small armies of young women to go out and hawk its cigarettes. The company insists it's not targeting kids. But why then does it post billboards right near schools? This really brings home the point. This is the entrance to a school, and come with me. Just a few steps away from the entrance, there is this kiosk that is sponsored by Marlboro Lights. And at this kiosk, a student can come and buy an individual cigarette They're only a dime a piece, and they even have a lighter on a string. Over and over, we asked Philip Morris International for an interview. They declined, sending us a pair of emails saying the company has repeatedly urged the government to ban tobacco sales to minors and has taken steps to restrict access to the events it sponsors. Unsatisfied with their answers, we decided to pay them a surprise visit at their headquarters in New York.
I'm from ABC News. We're looking to interview somebody from Philip Morris International.
Can you stop, turn off the camera?
Yes. Turn off the camera? All right, so they've given us a number in Switzerland to call. Let's try it. I'm holding a picture right now of a Marlboro kiosk right outside of a school in Indonesia, and I'm curious how you guys can explain that. So you have nothing to say beyond the statement?
With Philip Morris turning us down, is there anybody else accountable? We went to Indonesia's health minister, a Harvard-educated doctor.
As a public health expert, as a doctor, as an Indonesian, to see an American company come in here and be so effective at convincing young people to smoke.
Right. Of course, I don't agree with them. I think they are bad. I just don't like them, but I will not, say loudly like that,
Astonishingly, she says there's not much else she can do. In a country where tobacco employs more than 4 million people, where lawmakers smoke...
So we see here that they uses a lot of young people, and this is the result from smoking. A lady had sent us email about her husband who was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she said he smoked a lot. Remember, everything goes back to the beginning. The devil told Eve, "Thou shalt not surely die, and that you shall become as gods, knowing what good and evil," but didn't know what all that meant. Let's look at the effects of your health.
All right, everyone take a deep
Smoking
breath.
affects your health.
And here's the thing. Breathing sustains life. Every time you breathe in precious oxygen, it makes everything work inside your body the right way. That's oxygen. But what happens when you take a puff of a cigarette? Just one puff. As you inhale all that smoke, you're inhaling 7,000 chemicals, 200 plus known carcinogens, hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, ammonia, amongst others. But it doesn't just affect your lungs. Every puff of a cigarette is causing your heart to beat faster, your blood pressure to go up. It affects every single organ system in your body. If you didn't think so, smoking even can cause you to get bladder cancer. Your lungs, after 10 years of smoking 1 pack per day, this is what they might look like. But the good news is it's never too late to get rid of that damage, to turn the corner, and here to help us with an approach to quitting is Dr. Freda Lewis-Hall, the Chief Medical Officer of Pfizer, and I'm so glad you're here to talk about this. So very important.
Thank you so much. It is just great to be here. Many people believe that smoking is just a bad habit, but it's more than that. For many people, it is a very serious addiction that leads to all of those health consequences that you just talked about. Now, I know firsthand. My mother died of a stroke when I was in medical school, and she was a lifelong smoker. Now, I believe that my mother could do anything, but she could not quit smoking. But here's the good news. You can quit.
It can be done, and sometimes we have to appeal to people's vanities, because another reason to quit smoking is not just about lung cancer and all these other things. It doesn't just affect the insides, it can affect the outside.
That's exactly right, Travis. Cigarettes age your skin faster than anything else other than the sun. So smoking deprives the skin of oxygen and nutrients by affecting your blood vessels. And those chemicals that you alluded to, they trigger the destruction of what we need in our skin to keep it healthy and rosy. Collagen and elastin, the fibers that give your skin that youthful look to it. When a smoker comes into my office and wants to talk about reversing the signs of aging, what do I typically see? That smoker's pucker, those wrinkles around the mouth, and those are some of the toughest things to get rid of. In most cases, facelift, chemical peel, CO2 laser, even all those things will not eliminate all of the lines that I see after smoking.
And speaking of appearance, a lot of people don't want to try to stop smoking because they believe that they'll gain weight. Well, that may be true. Food is going to take.
So let's look at also person who smokes quickly. Let's look at secondhand smoke. The health risks of a secondhand smoke. What is it? Secondhand smoke is also called environmental tobacco smoke. It's a mixture of two forms of smoke that comes from burning tobacco. Mainstream smoke, the smoke exhaled by a smoker, and the side stream smoke, smoke from a lighted end of a cigarette pipe or cigarette or tobacco burning in a hookah. This type of smoke has higher concentration of cancer-causing agents. Carcinogen is more toxic than the mainstream smoke. It also has smaller particles than mainstream smoke. These particles make their way in the lungs and the body cells more easily. So if you're around a smoker, even though that smoker is smoking, the secondhand smoke is more deadly. When the non-smoker exposed to secondhand smoke is called involuntary smoking or passive smoking. Non-smokers who breathe in secondhand take in nicotine and toxic chemicals in the same way smokers do. The more secondhand smoke you breathe, the higher the levels of these harmful chemicals in your body. So we see here that a secondhand smoke is a problem. It has the same harmful chemicals that smokers had. There's no safe levels of exposure. Secondhand smoke causes cancer. It has more than 7,000 chemicals, including at least 70 that can cause cancer. Secondhand smoke causes lung cancer, even in people who have never smoked. There are also some evidence suggesting it might be linked with adults to the following cancer: larynx, voice box, the throat, nasal sinuses, brain, bladder, rectum, stomach, breast. Possibilities may be linked to lymphoma, leukemia, liver cancer, and brain tumors for children. Smoking causes cancer, heart disease, and emphysema. Let's look at this briefly. We won't look at all of this clip. It's going to come. It's a little slow, but as long as the volume up, it'll come in.
Every time you smoke a cigarette, toxic gases pass into your lungs, then into your bloodstream, where they spread to every organ in your body. A cigarette is made using the tobacco leaf, which contains nicotine and a variety of other compounds. As the tobacco and compounds burn, they release thousands of dangerous chemicals, including over 40 known to cause cancer. Cigarette smoke contains the poisonous gases carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxide, as well as trace amounts of cancer-causing radioactive particles. All forms of tobacco are dangerous, including cigars, pipes, and smokeless tobacco, such as chewing tobacco and snuff. Nicotine is an addictive chemical in tobacco. After you inhale tobacco smoke, nicotine flows through the bloodstream to your brain, where it induces a pleasurable feeling. When you repeatedly expose your brain to nicotine, it becomes desensitized, making you crave more and more nicotine just to feel normal.
Whatever happened to the Marlboro man, the Marlboro man? You know, they say the young lady said, he's handsome, and oh, he's smoking. And normally when you, and I have to tell you, when I was younger, I might have been about maybe 7, 6, and an uncle was smoking a cigarette, and I just wanted to test it. And I took the cigarette, and I didn't know anything of it. And I took it, and I apparently didn't know you were supposed to exhale. So I took it, and that was my first and last smoke. I didn't know. And so when you're young, you see in commercials when you're young and even some older, you cannot differentiate between what? Cause and effect, unless you're educated. Now let's look at this Marlboro.
Eric Lawson was the man who portrayed the Marlboro Man back in the 1970s and early 1980s. He has just passed away at the age of 72. He died due to respiratory failure due to COPD. So even though he was a spokesperson for cigarettes, later on in his career, he actually did release an ad talking about the dangers of smoking, and he also did an interview where he talked about how bad smoking is. That was a segment on Entertainment Tonight back in the day. So he realized that smoking was bad. He wanted to send the message, so he did a good job doing that. But it's kind of crazy, you know, you're known for being a spokesperson for cigarettes, and then you die for respiratory-related issues.
Which clearly had to do with his cigarette smoking.
Right.
But this story's got ironies all over it. Now, he speaks out because he wound up getting sick over it, but he was 72, so like Marlboro, he had 6 children, 18 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. Marlboro could come back and be like, what are you talking about, man? The guy lived to 72. He's fine.
I know, but think about this. I mean, he would still be alive today if he weren't smoking. I know that 72 is still considered a pretty long life, but who knows how long he could have lived.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course. And then, and the other irony here, the more relevant one, of course, is that he, even as he did the anti-smoking interviews, etc., and ads, he kept smoking. And to be fair, it's not. I mean, it's partly ironic, partly not, because he said, "Look, I'm addicted to it, and he couldn't get off of it." So I love that when you see the Marlboro Man, it looks so cool, like tough, yeah. And then, but you don't see him when he's 71 years old and coughing out his lung.
Yeah.
See, those are the effects. Now, what about another one? What about the effects of snuff? Isn't it causes less problems? Instead of smoking, just put a little snuff. You know, you see the athletes put the snuff in their tongue and they spit out and they're looking all buffed and everything. Wouldn't it be better to do snuff than it would do to smoke? Let's see.
We actually have Gruen von Behrens on the phone. He wants to send you a very important message. When Gruen was only 17, he actually developed mouth cancer after only 4 years of chewing tobacco. He's actually had his lower jaw, half his tongue, as well as some of his neck muscles removed. And I want everyone to listen to Gruen carefully. If you're at home and you use tobacco, and you in particular, Scott, his story is so powerful. Gruen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
So you have the floor.
Scott, man, I tell you what, so many times I get put face to face with people like you, saying, oh, it's not going to happen to me. If it does, it's really not that big of a deal. I was diagnosed with cancer at a very young age from this product. I mean, it's proven, it's known, but I was diagnosed because of this product. And I try to really make people understand that this is the face of tobacco. But you need to take a good, long, hard look at that picture and realize that that's what you're going face to face with every time you put a dip in your lip. Too often people say that spit tobacco only affects the person using it. That's a load of crap. You affect everybody who loves you. And take a look at your 2 kids, all right? Next time you go put a dip in your lip and you say, hey, do I want to be their grandpa or do I want to die someday because of this stupid addiction that I have? You're a lot smarter man than that little bitty can.
Gruen, you could not have put it any better. In
So we see that. Now let's look, if we stop smoking, let's look at the timeline. What happens to the body?
You know that smoking is bad for your body. You also know that the longer you smoke, the worse it is for your body. But what you may not know is how good it is for your body to quit smoking, and that the longer you go without smoking, the healthier your body becomes. After only 20 minutes from your last cigarette, your blood pressure, pulse rate, and the temperature of your hands and feet all return to normal. After 8 hours, the nicotine in your bloodstream reduces by 93.25%. After 12 hours, your blood oxygen level increases to normal, while your carbon monoxide level drops to normal. After 24 hours, your quitting-related anxieties peak and will return to pre-quitting levels within 2 weeks. After 48 hours, damaged nerve endings are regrowing, and your sense of smell and taste are returning to normal. At this time, your quitting-related anger and irritability peak. After 72 hours, you are 100% nicotine-free. Your withdrawal symptoms already peaked, the bronchial tubes in your lungs are relaxing, and you're now breathing easier. After 5 to 8 days, you're having an average of 3 cue-induced cravings each day, and no craving lasts longer than 3 minutes. After 10 days, you have less than 2 cravings a day, each less than 3 minutes. After 2 weeks, the blood circulation in your gums and teeth are similar to a non-smoker. After 2 to 4 weeks, your quitting-related anger, anxiety, impatience, insomnia, restlessness, and depression are gone. After 2 weeks to 3 months, your risk of heart attack is dropping and your lung function is improving. After 3 weeks to 3 months, your circulation is improved, your chronic cough disappeared, and you are walking easier. After 9 months, your sinus congestion, fatigue, and shortness of breath are decreased. The cilia in your lungs, which keep your lungs clean, are regrown, and you have increased energy. After 1 year, your excess risk of coronary heart disease, heart attack, and stroke are now half the excess risk of a smoker. After 5 to 15 years, your risk of having a stroke is the same as a non-smoker. After 10 years, your risk of lung cancer is 30 to 50% of a smoker's risk. Your risk of death from lung cancer is reduced by half, and your risk of pancreatic cancer is the same as a non-smoker. Your risk of mouth, throat, and esophagus cancer is also reduced. After 13 years, your risk of tooth loss is the same as a non-smoker. After 15 years, your risk of coronary heart disease is the same as a non-smoker. After 20 years, the risk of death from smoking-related causes is now that of a non-smoker.
Now you see it took 20 years for you to get back to what? A normal non-smoker. So in other words, the probability if you smoked in your early years at certain times, you still have to work at it, that you can still get what? You can still get lung cancer or have some issues. Let's look at this clip here about smoking. I have about two more slides. This here shows what happens when they're using a pig lung to let you witness the damage caused by smoking 60 cigarettes at one time and what it's doing to the lung. When the pump is switched off, the lungs expand. That's a normal, but now they're going to damage it by letting it smoke 60 cigarettes, and we're going to see what happens to the lungs. So as they began to give this lung, pig lung, cigarettes, something going to happen. This is an experiment. The lungs were then compared to a smoke-free lung. Inside the trachea exposed to cigarette, no cigarette, and this is the one that exposed to smoking 60 cigarettes. The other was when it wasn't. It was just regular breathing. And then just 60 cigarettes that was given as an experiment. Now that was just for 1 day. What about if you're doing it for years? This is another ad here of children who did an experiment. One of the best anti-smoking ads ever. Smoking kid. See all these people smoking cigarettes, and adults know that smoking is harmful, but don't remind them of this fact. How would they feel when a child smokes? He says, "Can I get a light?" This little boy asking, "Can I get a light?" They say, "Can I get a light?" Can I? They say, "Can I borrow a lighter?" Really? I'm not giving it to you. Smoking is bad. You have to stop. Cigarettes contain insecticide. You look old when you smoke. Every adult film reminded the children that smoking is bad. If you smoke, you're going to die faster. Don't you want to live and play? You know it's bad. You're going to smoke, suffer from lung cancer, emphysema, and strokes. But did they forget something themselves? So why are you smoking, she says. So they're giving them a piece of paper. And the paper says, you worry about me, but why not worry about yourself? Reminding yourself is the most effective way, and they gave them a 1-800 number to call. Almost every adult who receive a brochure stop to think and throw away their cigarette. No adult have threw away the brochure. And that 1-800 number they gave them that day, it increased in them different ones trying to call and ask for help. Now, okay, testing. So what happened is how to make a herbal cigarette. You use equal parts of mullein, organic comfrey leaf, catnip leaf, and peppermint leaf. And this is actually, this particular cigarette, some people, they use the cigarette roller. Herbal cigarette do not contain nicotine, should only be for a short transition. Now, this is a natural cigarette, and it actually helps the lungs. Now, I have to say, if they see you rolling cigarettes, people going to think something. They're going to think you what? Smoking what? They're going to think you smoking a joint. But this is here, we're just educating a little bit to show it for a person who's really addictive. And we do have some natural cigarettes here to help clean out the lung. So there are transitions, and plus going on a detox program. You can make a herbal lung tonic with honey, wild cherry syrup, peppermint, ginger powder, camphor, cinnamon powder, cayenne, 1 bulb of garlic, onion, horseradish, 5 ounces, horehound, 2 tablespoons, juice of 10 lemons. You blend this all together, and you take a teaspoon as needed. This is going to help your lung and help you to breathe. Now, also, this is good if you have bronchitis or emphysema or cold, real bad cold, and you're having a hard time breathing. This will also, pneumonia, this will help as well. Also, the person may have to have a fever bath or steam or massages, and you encourage them to eat more fruits and vegetables and drink more juices and exercise and do some deep breathing. So all these things will help to detoxify the lungs and try to strengthen the body. So that was just a little to show us that God has I know we kind of packing you today with a lot, but to let you know that the Bible said the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nation. So God has given us, and it says in counsel, there's an antidote for every disease, but we need to be knowledgeable on what to do, because it's so easy for us to just run and get a drug or something of that nature to take, but we need to take more time. The Bible said, there's a song that they say, take more time to be holy. We need to take more time to be healthy. Add that to that as well. We need to do what we can to get these bodies in order. And at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Melba and my husband. They're going to be dealing with the natural